Jesus, I pray that we would build our lives upon you and that we would display your love through our lives, and that we would give as we have been so freely given to, and pray that we live out of that love we have for you. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right. So, first of all, I need to apologize to Brian. I had a nice little introduction all written up for him, and I left it on the table and just left him on his own to flounder. So I do have one for Chip as well. So John, or Chip Boyd, he's the executive pastor at Journey Church in Joplin, and so hopefully some of you maybe have already had a chance to talk with him. And the purpose of Journey Church is to seek to train everyone we meet in the way of Jesus Christ, to instruct believers to faithfully practice this way, and to lead them all to reach others as Christ has instructed them. And so as executive pastor, John's helped lead his church in fulfilling that purpose in their community. But one of the reasons why we invite him is also because in 2016 he helped start the 2 and 5 initiative, Joplin, at Journey, and it's grown into a great model of ministry. And so basically, and I'm sure you'll talk a lot more about this, but the 2 and 5 initiative is based on Mark 12:30-31, where it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And their goal through that was to reach every household in a 2-mile radius within a 5-year period. So he's going to be sharing a lot more about that. But also in 2019, he helped start Abide Missions Incorporated, which is a nonprofit company that runs community development mission trips for youth groups, corporate groups, and families from all over the U.S. He's also a past member of Bright Futures, the board of directors, a past member of the Southwest Missouri FCA hiring board. And then he and his wife, Tracy, they've been married for 30 years this December, and they've got 2 daughters and a grandson, and they love serving their community together. And so we're excited to have Chip here with us today, and I'll give him a warm welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes, I have been married in December 30 years, and she has put up with me for 34 years. So, congratulations to her. Because, Brian, you said something just a minute ago on one of your slides that you random episodic storytelling, and yes, I do live in an unpredictable environment, so get ready for some stories. My name is John Boyd. I am the executive pastor at Journey Church. I am also a chaplain for the Joplin Police Department. I started a 501c3 Abide Missions 2 years ago, and again, we run mission trips for groups from all over the United States. And what we do is we bring them in and we teach them our model of ministry, which I'm going to convey to you all today. And actually, they go back to their communities and take it back and start it there. Hopefully, they will get the gist of it and want to take it back. We just started a offshoot of Abide in Knightdale, North Carolina. Now, I watched a lot of Andy Griffith, and I never heard of Knightdale. I've heard of Raleigh, which I fly into to get to Knightdale. It's about 20 minutes south of Raleigh, so nowhere near Mayberry. So, which really, I guess, doesn't exist. But anyway, it's Mount Airy or something like that. Anyway, just to give you an example and an overview of Journey Church. Journey Church is a Southern Baptist church. No comments from the Southern Baptist. Anyway, going through a rough time right now. We are a Southern Baptist church. We are about 125 strong. We have 3 pastors of the church. I am the only full-time staff at the church. My lead pastor is a nurse practitioner in the emergency room at Mercy Hospital in Joplin. And then the other guy, I call him the other guy, the outreach guy he works for Lego Learning, really. Nice. He writes and shoots videos, training videos for like schools for Lego Learning. So there's 3 of us. We are the elders of the church. And let me tell you, Brian and I were talking just a little bit ago about how we got started and started pushing the 2 and 5 initiative. in 2011, we had a tornado that you may or may not heard of that came through and just ripped apart our town. And let me tell you this, folks, if your church is heading one direction and something like that happens, it tends to change your view of things a little bit. My background further prior to my pastoral work was in EMS. So I was a paramedic. So that night, I wasn't on duty. My license had expired in 2011. But in 2011, they were asking anybody to come through and help. Anybody with medical knowledge. So I went, my pastor and I went, and we filled body bags. Folks, that's what we did. But let me tell you this, we were talking about this as well. In a time of crisis, what did I see most of all? The churches coming together. It wasn't FEMA, it wasn't any governmental people, it was the churches. And let me tell you this, it was amazing to see no denominational lines.
Yep.
I was working with Jehovah's Witnesses, who were working with Mormons, who were working with us dirty Baptists, you know. We didn't think that way. We were just trying to get something done. We were trying to help people immediately. So that's where we got this whole situation. Why can't it be like that every day? Build a coalition of people, true charity on board, and ready to go out and fight this thing. Let's help people help themselves. So what we've done is, in 2016, I am totally going off of my notes. It will not be the same. So anyway, so in our time together today, we're going to be talking about church benevolence in the last half, and then we're going to be talking about community engagement. From the time that tornado hit in 2011, we were much in reach in our church. We were so focused on reaching into each other that we didn't know what was going out beside us. After that tornado, and we saw these people coming together, it literally changed the face of ministry in that church to, wait a minute, there's other people besides the people that sit in our chairs every Sunday. So my congregation flipped almost overnight. It was crazy. I had never seen anything like it. I would say that our church is probably 80%, 85% engaged. All of them. 85% of them are ready to get outside the church and get to serving people. So with that, in 2016, we started the 2 and 5 Initiative Joplin. God gave me 2 numbers. I don't know why. And I would see the 2 and 5, whether it be 25, a 2, or a 5, whatever it was, I would see it. And I'm thinking, okay, what is going on? It's just uncanny. I would dream of it at night. I know this sounds goofy. But God laid it on my heart. We need to get within 2 miles of our church. We need to reach every household in 5 years. That was 2021. We succeeded. We reached out to every one of our households in the 2 mile area in 5 years. Now, that being said, we had to develop a reason why we were stopping by, not only just because we're from the church, but we were going to see what they were up to. We were going to get in their business. And I was fully against that at first. Listen, I don't want to know. What I don't know won't hurt me. Kind of a thing. Now let's talk about the neighborhood before we go any further. I can walk out my church front door. There's a house that's constant domestic abuse, one that hates that we're there, and the one over here, there's probably 15 to 25 hand-to-hand drug trades every day. They have raided that house so many times and pulled people out of there, and they're right back the next day. The school down the street is about 2 blocks, 190 kids in that church, or in that school. 90% of them are free and reduced lunch. 80% of them don't have a father in the home. So I'm going to give you some examples later on of how to get involved in your school. Man, if that's what if you can get into school and mentor a kid, get there. Get there. I gave you a brochure on Bright Futures Joplin. I was on their board of directors for years. They have trek coaches. They have, not track. I was totally against running. So trek coaches, they go in and actually do homework with the kid. They mentor the kid that way. Lunch pals, 20 minutes a week can change a kid's life because you're the only constant that kid may have. So if you can get into the schools, that's perfect. So before we get started, I think we probably ought to look and see what community engagement really means. So community engagement is the process of working collaboratively with and through groups of people affiliated by geographic proximity, special interest, or similar situations to address issues affecting the well-being of those people. It is a powerful vehicle for bringing about environmental and behavioral changes that will improve the health of the community and its members. It often involves partnerships and coalitions that help mobilize resources and influence systems, change relationships among partners, and serve as a catalyst for changing policies, programs, and practices. That is a lot of words, folks. That's a lot of words. I think that definition is probably just a little complicated. There are more words than I really expected, and this comes from the Community Development Corporation. It was in 1997. Maybe they were more wordy back then. I don't know. It is involving a lot more than what we expected. So let's do this. What does it really look like when a church engages the community or the neighborhood? Into school events. We do end-of-school events like block parties or whatever that may be, right? Okay, how about VBS? That's about midsummer. VBS is great. I was a children's minister for years. They scare me to death now. I don't know why. I get asked to do the children's sermon, I'm like, I gotta go. You know, whew, scary. Back to school events. What do? Give away supplies, right? We give away supplies, free haircuts, things like that. Fall festivals. Here we go. We're going through the seasons here. Fall festivals. We did a fall festival one time and fed 400 people. Not one person came to know Jesus. We had a car show. Pretty cool. We gave away some stuff. Pretty cool. We're not doing it again. The back to school event, the supply drive, we had people driving from Clinton, Missouri to get a free backpack and some stuff. We're not doing it again. We're not. Christmas events. We used to have a community Christmas party. Not one person came to church on Christmas or the services around it. Easter events. We did an Easter egg hunt. 4,000 eggs. Our yard guy hated us because not all of them were found because nobody showed up. They don't care. They don't care. So let's go back and take a look at the definition once again. Community engagement is the process of working collaboratively. You can't do this by yourself. The senior pastor cannot do this by themselves. It's going to take a team of people. Now, I have a team of people. There's about 125 people sitting in that pew that or chairs that need to get their rear end out of it. And honestly, just to forewarn you, they call me 60 grit. You can say whatever you want to, but I just tell it like it is. I'm very upfront with my people, and they know where they stand. I love them, and I do it in love, but I'm just telling them the truth. Working collaboratively. You need to start gathering resources if you want to do this. True Charity is one. We work with Children's Haven, which is like a fostering, or they're a, what do you want?
It's to prevent kids from being homeless. Is
Right.
what it's like if they can't find a foster home.
Yeah.
A child will go to Children's Haven.
We work with them. We work with the schools. We work with Bright Futures. So working collaboratively with and through groups of people affiliated by geographic proximity, special interest, or similar situations to address issues. People have issues. So we get out in the streets around our neighborhood. When we started the 2 and 5, we found out a lot of stuff about a lot of people. Some of it we didn't want to know. And we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. We're going to address issues. It goes on to say, affecting the well-being of those people. It is a powerful vehicle. This is a way to find needs and solutions. It also says that it's going to improve the health of the community and its members. It can't do anything but take them up if you try to show them how to do stuff, right? It just brings them up. It's not going to sink them any lower. It also often involves partnerships and coalitions. Again, build your resources. Start going out and talking to people. And then it serves as a catalyst. The church can be a catalyst in their community if you would just get out and start hitting the ground. Have you ever noticed those events that we just talked about, the Easter egg hunt and all that? Have you ever noticed one thing about it? It involves food, and it involves and centers around kids, right? We're trying to get the kids so we can get the parents. Not necessarily true. What does it mean to work collaboratively? Working together, right? You're going to have to get some resources put together. Whether it be making a list, going out and visiting each one. I spend my days out in the community. I have an office. They just made me redo my office. I don't know why. I'm never in it. Hardly. I'm out in the community every day. Working with a partnership, working on a partnership, or working with someone that we are partnering with. We've had one word that is overwhelmingly popular today: relationship. The church has been doing it a little bit wrong. I know that's dangerous to say. We always want to insert the Jesus factor right away, and then we'll become best friends. Not true. Not true at all. The people that we are going to be serving or walking alongside of, they don't trust people. Especially when they see me drive up in a cop car, to the church. They don't trust people. They've been hurt by the church. You're just a nasty church person. My mom went to church and got, whatever. They always find a way. Relationships are 100% necessary in engaging the community and in church benevolence, and we'll talk about that in a little while. So let me ask you this. We've also had another word thrown around a couple of times called discipleship, right? What does it mean to be a disciple? What's it mean?
To be a student.
To be a student. Okay. So why is it the church, and I'm not bagging on the church, I'm just saying, why is it that we believe that it's a book study between you and I? That's exactly the opposite of what it is. How many of you have read John Eldridge? Wild at Heart? So a guy asked me to read that with him. The only thing I got out of it is I hated my dad. I mean, really. I didn't even know I hated my dad until I read the book. I called him and said, sorry. I don't know what to tell you. John Eldridge made me say it. I don't know. Anyway, that's not what it is. It's becoming like the people that you surround yourself with, right? So we have a group that goes out on Monday nights called rescue teams. They're with Water Gardens. We have 2 guys that lead those rescue teams. They go into homeless camps and start talking to people. That's all they do, talk. Give them a little bit of food or whatever, and whatever. They go into these homeless camps and start talking about life, what they're doing, how they got there. The most powerful question you can ask someone is, what's your story? They'll go on for months telling you a story. So, our ladies started going, a couple, 3 or 4 of our ladies started going on Monday, and they met a girl named Shanika. You know Shanika, right? Okay.
Well, she doesn't know me, but I know her.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you hear her long before you see her, trust me. Hurricane Shanika is what we call her. Anyway, they met a young woman named Shanika. This has been over 5 years ago. She was prostituting herself and a meth addict. And they kept praying outside the house that she was in. And she would come out, sometimes cuss at them, sometimes throw stuff at them, sometimes yell at them. But then weeks went by and they didn't give up on the girl. She was 28 at the time. So here we fast forward several months. They had not given up on Shanika. So I'm preaching one day at our church, one of the few times that they asked me to preach because, anyway. So I'm standing on the stage, and I give our invitation at the end of the service at that point. And I had a Billy Graham moment. Have you ever had one of those, pastors? It is great. You see everybody like engaged and ready to go, and you're pumped up, and you're like, all you need is Jesus. You need to come here if you need, from all over the stadium. I see this little head pop up in the middle of a section and starts running down the aisle. I'm like, what is going on? So I'm stepping down off of the stairs, and I see this girl just hauling towards me. Man, she is running full speed. I'm thinking, brace? What do I do? Anyway, so she comes right to my feet. She falls down, throws herself on the ground, grabs a hold of my legs, says, I need Jesus. What would have happened if those ladies would have given up on her? It gets messy, folks. But as soon as she looked at me and said, I need Jesus, what did I do? Went to the ground, and we talked like this. She was crying, and we were all crying. And I said, Shanika, I can introduce you to Jesus today if that's what you want. Oh, Pastor, that's what I want. I had never met the girl. So I laid in the floor with this girl that was prostituting herself, was about 90 pounds because she was methed out. She accepted Jesus that day. That's been 5 or 6 years ago. Shanika now works for Amazon as a delivery driver. She just quit a job because she's working so much at Amazon. She was a general manager at a restaurant, making money. She's a success story because people wouldn't give up on her. We need to stay the course on these people once we meet them. It's a powerful, powerful vehicle, the church is. And it says that it's going to change the health of the community. I would say her health has changed. Would you not? It involves partnership. We're going to have to involve resources, which means that you're going to have to involve resources within your church. You just talked about just a little bit ago about needing a lawyer. That's kind of crazy because I have a lawyer in my church that has gifted us plenty of times his time. We had to go through each one of our congregation of 125 people. Hey, what can you do? We had a guy that says, oh, I own a body shop. Perfect. I'm just going to put you on the list, and if we need you, I'm not saying do it for free. We'll work something out. I have a guy that's a mechanic. I have a guy that's an electrician, a master electrician for a hospital. I have a guy that owns his own construction company. I've got people that can cook. I've got people that can do budgeting. Explore your opportunities within your church. So I'm going to put y'all on the spot. You ready? What can you do? What do you like to do? What's your passion? Where do I start? Let's start right here. You made eye contact. What's your passion? What do you like to do?
I help coordinate classes, like to teach skills. I like to empower people in that way.
Perfect. Great. Everybody needs a coordinator. Everybody. I know what yours is. And you're very good at it, by the way. What do you like to do?
Like connecting people.
Great. Networking. Love it.
I like helping people and making people laugh. I feel
Everybody needs a comedian.
Yeah.
I love it. Listen, everybody needs a feel-good person, okay, to come back to. Seriously. What do you like to do?
I can teach.
What do you teach?
I used to teach elementary school.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Bless your heart. Superhero without cape. I got it. My daughter's a special ed teacher at 3rd grade. She comes home crying. Well, to her home. She doesn't come to my home anymore. What can you do?
What do I do now?
What can you do? What can you do?
I'm a woodworker.
I love it. I love it. I love it. What can you do?
I like to pray for people.
I love that. I love that. What can you do? What's your gift?
I'm a minimalist and I work well with.
I have a bunch of hoarders I need you to go see.
I can work with people and teach them how to simplify their life.
I love it. How about you?
Well, I love to work.
Well, okay.
So I serve in my church and have been for many years.
Are you a deacon?
No, I'm a men's pastor.
Aha, okay.
So I've served the church in that capacity for 25 years or so.
Good, okay, perfect. How about you?
But he also is an electrician.
Yeah,
That guy can do anything.
I figured there was something else.
I like to teach.
Teach?
Yeah.
Okay. How about you guys? I put everybody on the spot. Now, is there, wait a minute, is there a pastor in this group?
What, here?
At this table?
We're all
Only two?
There you go. So, you gotta get back to work, sorry.
I teach core group.
Okay.
And Todd, as we do pre-marriage counseling.
Woo.
Passion.
We can talk later.
Yeah, you need some counseling?
No. Anyway.
I love collecting information.
Everybody needs a spreadsheet, guys.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a spreadsheet.
Oh.
I do the spreadsheets, he
Yeah.
has the information.
Perfect. I love it.
Eat it up.
Love it.
Pastor, organizer, entrepreneur.
Nice.
Many hats.
Entrepreneur. I feel it.
Prayer warrior, note writer to encourage people that are going through health issues and.
Well, I've been told I'm a visionary, but I really enjoy casting a vision, bringing people together and seeing it started.
I love this guy. Casting a vision, how important is that? So we just went through a restructure in my church where I'm the executive guy, so I do all the administrative and dirty work. And my pastor's job is to preach, teach, and cast the vision. That's his job. I love that. So the 2 and 5, we'll get back to the 2 and 5. So after the tornado, we started engaging the community a little bit harder because a lot of people were displaced. A lot of people have a lot of PTSD going on. They were all over the place. They were scattered about. So the church decided, hey, we're going to go out and start reaching these people, but I had to let them know that I was going to call upon them if needed. And they were okay with that until I called upon them when needed. And then they're like, well, I don't know. I'm like, no, I'll go with you. We need to get this done. So what we would do would go to a house and we would develop a community assessment card. So this is all the stuff that we had on this card that we could do within the church. Doctor, blah, 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 if you need medication adjustments, whatever it was. So our visits would go, hey, Mrs. Smith, I'm John from Journey Church. I just wanted to come by and visit today, and we just wanted to see if you were okay after the tornado, anybody in your, we opened it up that way. As my team would start talking, and believe me, when you start talking to someone, they're going to start talking back, and you're going to learn more than you ever thought you would know. I would walk around the house and look at small projects that needed to be done. So I'd come back around and we'd say, oh, we've discovered here that you're a diabetic and you need to really look at your insulin delivery. It's a little bit off, your numbers have been. So here's what I'd like to do. Schedule you at 1:30 to come to the church and talk to Dr. Bob. That's what he went by, Dr. Bob. So she would come by, we would go get her if needed, and bring her back to the church. Dr. Bob would get her all lined out, collaborate with her doctor, and he probably knew him, so he would make that adjustment. Hey, Mrs. Smith, I noticed that one of your windows is broken. Do you own your home? Yeah, I own my home. Great. I said, how about if we change that window out free of charge? However, would you mind baking us cookies? Would you mind sitting with some of these students and just visiting with them? Would you mind, depending on what she is able to do, get up on a ladder and help us? I don't know. Do you have the resources to buy the window? No? Okay. That's fine. We can help you with that. Here's what we believe, and here's what we found. That if you will empower a person, even with the upkeep of her home, she wants to take she wants to take back her other things in her life. Her health, her being able to buy whatever it is. Just to do whatever she needs to do daily. She wants to take that back. She wants to be in charge of that again. As far as animals, you were talking about that. We have found that the more ingrained in poverty that a person is, the more animals that they have. I have a lunch pal in the high school, the high school now. He had 9 pit bulls in the house. And we'll talk about him a little bit later, but that animal thing is true. It is true. Now, I want to give you some fair warning. Engaging the neighborhood or community can and probably will be messy. That's another word we've heard today. It's going to be messy. It can be somewhat time-consuming. Because once you make a relationship, you can't abandon that relationship ever. You'll learn a lot more information about people than you ever need to know. They're going to tell you the gory details of their life. And trust me, you'll want to go la 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 on some of it. You most likely will be pulled out of your comfort zone. Yes. When Mrs. Smith says, hey, can you come inside and look at this project? You're like, I don't know. You come with me. Your heart will break for these people because you're going to hear some gut-wrenching stories, especially if it involves children. Be ready. You'll have to learn to love unconditionally. That love that we talked about in that scripture that you talked about just a minute ago, that's unconditional love. The good, bad, the ugly, smelly, whatever. The Jesus factor, and when it comes into play, you're going to have to discern that. It can't be right away because they don't trust you. They don't trust you. They're going to say, you're just another church person trying to cram religion down my throat. If I had $1 for every time I heard that, you need to know when. You've got to earn that right. to talk about Jesus. Again, this cannot belong to a team, or this will have to belong to a team within the church. Your senior pastor can't do it. He can support it, and he can give you some time, but I don't know that he can do it by himself. The team that is called to do this will have to seek outside partnerships and outside resources. There are plenty of them around. This Alliance of Southwest Missouri in Joplin, they print out a list of all these resources that we have within the city. I carry one wherever I go in the city on a day-to-day basis. I carry one in my cop car, just in case. I want you to start discovering gifts and talents that are inside your church first. Ask people what they like to do. I have a lady that loves to do budgeting. They're 20-some years old and debt-free, including college. Why would I say no to that? And it wasn't Dave Ramsey either. They did it on their own. It doesn't have to be Dave Ramsey. It doesn't. It can be whatever. I have the same lady that likes to teach cooking on a budget. She does it regularly. I'm just giving you all some ideas because it's working. She's also in charge of our community garden. Our community garden is huge. Last growing season, almost 800 pounds of potatoes came out of that garden. We literally had potatoes coming out of our ears. It was insane. We picked or cut lettuce like 4 different, anyway, we have a pavilion in our garden that the pecking order is this. The church members that help get first pick, community gets second pick, Water Gardens gets third. And we had a bunch left over. So we do our own giveaway, produce giveaway under our pavilion. A lot of our neighbors come and they can fix some meals. Potatoes goes a long way. I want you to pick a few areas of substance and match church members with that. So if you have a lady that's or guy that's a math genius and can do budgeting, perfect. Go there. Start there. If you have someone that likes to cook and can do stuff on a budget, whatever, start with the knowns first. Make sure that you pick areas that will empower the people to take back total control of that area in their life. So our budgeting class, they come in with all their bills, set them on a table, Scott and Annette go through them, and they have a working budget when they come out. Okay? So, I'm going to tell my story, the Walmart story. So I was telling Brian before, I said, we had a couple in the church that got $8,000 from the federal government. $8,000. They came on a Wednesday night service and said, hey, man, we came into all this money and you should have seen what we bought. TVs, PlayStations, all this stuff. And the lady looks at me and goes, it was the best 24 hours of our life. I said, great. A week later, they're sitting in front of my desk crying because they have no electricity or water. They can't play their games.
Great.
So I said, okay. Me being who I am, 60 grit, said, do you still have your receipts? Yes. I said, great. Go pack all your stuff up. I'll see you at Walmart in 30 minutes. They said, what? I said, I'll see you in 30 minutes. They met me at Walmart. We got several carts. And we're got a big train coming in, and the greeter goes, what's all this? I said, it's returns. They can't afford it. Now, I didn't say that to shame them, and I let them know I'm doing this because I love you, and I want you to succeed. They trained all this stuff in there. The lady at the return desk goes, what's all this? I said, we're returning it. They can't afford it. I stepped out of the way. They scanned all the stuff back in, got most of their money back. I said, okay. She goes, well, I guess we'll. I said, no, we're not done. Get in the car. I took them to Empire or Liberty Utilities. We paid off their bill in full. Went to the water company, paid it off in full. We went to the bank, started a bank account. They hadn't had a bank account and they're in their mid-30s. I said, okay, now we're done, except I'm going to need a tithe check from you. What do you mean? I said, 10% is what it means. I said, you're going to have to write one of these every month. Because he was working. They just spent their money crazy. So they wrote me a check. I gave it to the secretary. She goes, I'd never seen a check. I understand. It's going to happen. They're debt-free as of now. They both have jobs. They have money in the bank with a checking account. They have a savings account now. And they have electricity and water. Folks, you're going to have to walk alongside them. We talked about it just a minute ago. It's like a little child. I took this big old guy, he's way bigger than me, by the hand, took him into Walmart and spanked him. I had to. I could not. And here's why. Because when she walked into the church office, my office, she sat down and she goes, when's the church going to be able to pay my electric bill? I said, never. Never. Had she not said anything to me a week prior to having $8,000, I probably would have paid it because they're internal. They're members of the church. Anyway, so sometimes those situations get hard. Here's some of the things that we started off with. Budgeting classes we talked about. Writing resumes and how to dress for an interview. Not wearing your best Budweiser shirt and your cut-off shorts. Actually, we won't even talk about that. Anyway, cooking on a budget. Bulk laundry soap making. I did not know you could do that. She's making 5-gallon buckets of laundry soap. I'm like, okay. Small home repairs. Eyeglasses, hearing aids. Med adjustments, and volunteering in the local schools. Right Futures Joplin, man. They are amazing. Sorry, I'm a walker. I'm sorry. Getting into those kids' lives, reading to them, let them read to you. It's incredible. The DME is durable medical equipment. We have a lot of people in Joplin that need like canes or whatever. Grace Baptist Church has a medical equipment loan closet. So you can call them up and say, listen, I need a bath chair for my grandma. And they'll say, where's she at? And we'll deliver it. And it's free. You got to know all these things to get in there. We're not doing major work on homes. We're not doing any foundation, electrical, plumbing. I've got people that do that. We're lucky enough to have a contractor in our church that will go and look at it. We'll pull the permits because they're difficult to work with. I'll just leave it at that. You must own your home. We have done some work on some people's homes, and they have raised the rent so much that they had to leave. So we don't do that anymore. So I asked from the pulpit one time to my church, another time I was preaching, they're not going to let me preach if I keep going like this. Anyway, I said, what are you hiding today? What are you hiding from me, and what are you hiding from God? And they're all like, what? I said, what are your gifts and talents? I had to make them think about it. I put you guys on the spot and got better answers than I've, kind of thing. Our goal is not to do things and hand stuff out. I want them to take an active part in this. I want them to have skin in the game. I want them to be able to make decisions with us versus me making it for them. I want them to be a part of us putting in a new window. If that's just caulking it in, fantastic. I'm good with that. back to volunteering. I know I'm all over the place. Volunteering back at the school. I got a lunch pal. He was in 3rd grade. His name is Tristan. And in 3rd grade, all he would do was growl at people. He wouldn't talk. So our first visit was very awkward. He sat there and growled at me while I watched him kind of eat his lunch. His teacher would always find him under his desk. He wouldn't talk, just growl. So after building up by the end of the school year, he started talking a little bit. I got him the next year. I've had him for 7 years. It's amazing. So the next year, he started talking to me. He told me that he had 9 dogs in the house. He told me that over Christmas break, they fixed the hole in their floor so they could go to the bathroom again instead of outside. I was going there to be a blessing, and he blessed my heart. I love that kid. He's in 10th grade now. So on his 9th grade, the beginning of his 9th grade year, I saw him for the very first time. What are 9th grade boys like? They don't want to even, I don't know, I had 2 girls. But he came over and hugged me when he saw me for the first time. He says, "I'm so happy to see you again." He goes, "You don't know how much I love you." He said, "I found, back in 3rd grade, I asked him, 'What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do when you grow up?' He goes, 'My mom told me this, I'll never be any better than her. I'll either work in a McDonald's or factory.'" I said, "That's baloney. That is not true." 9th grade year after the hug, he looks at me and goes, "I found what I want to do." I said, "Man, that is great. What do you want to do?" He got involved in ROTC. It's regimented. He's never had that before. He goes, "I want to serve my country." And I just pulled him in, and I said, "Man, that is the greatest thing, most honorable thing you could do." I talked to his teacher, his instructor, ROTC instructor. He goes, "That kid is a leader. He just didn't know it." He's in 10th grade now, and I get to see him next week, and I'm so excited to see what's going on in his life. We were talking just a little bit ago about Bible studies and gatherings for home churches. And you know, there's a lady in Joplin that does, it's called Turquoise Tables. I don't know if you've heard that. Ann Leach is her name. Turquoise Tables. So she had this table, picnic table, in her front yard. Not in her backyard, her front yard. She just set it in the front yard, painted it this turquoise color, about the color of your shirt. She started having her coffee and reading scripture out there. The neighbors would come out and go, "What is she doing?" So they walked over to this table and sat down beside her and asked her what she was doing. She shared what she was reading. Now she has 2 tables. I mean, she is gathering people outside. Be visible out there. Reading your scripture outside, that's great. They love that. So Turquoise Tables. I believe there's a website. I'll check it here in just a minute. How do we pray? Or how do we start? We want to pray about this. And know that it's okay to start small. I want you to start identifying your resources within your community and within your church. Personal invitation to share that gift or talent with others? Yes. Ask them, "Hey, you're an information guy. How about you share some information with people?" "Okay, cool. I can do that." Ask them. One thing I learned during being a children's pastor, if you want people to help with VBS, just don't assume that they're going to help. Go personally invite them. "Hey, I think you'd be great at music." They said, "Hey, you're crazy." No way. Personal invitation to share is everything. Partner with other resources, school districts, shelters, neighborhood groups. Neighbor Connect through Water Gardens is huge. Neighbor Connect gets calls all the time. "Hey, I need somebody to mow my yard." I'll get a call from what was Casey. quitter. She's a quitter. Anyway, call me and say, hey, we've got a lady in your neighborhood that needs her yard mowed. What do? Send the youth over there, because I'm not doing it. I'm not too old. So I go over there, have them do it, and then I go follow up just to make sure they did a good job. And visit with that individual. Find out more of the story. What's going on? Okay? So yeah, visit with those people. Go out into the community with a relationship mindset, not cramming Jesus down people's throat,
Amen.
Which is great. Hey, let's don't go at them full force with Jesus, which would be awesome if we could do that, but let's get to know them first. Let's don't run them off. Don't get discouraged. It's going to be hard going. Okay, church engagement, we got that over with. Now the sticky subject of church benevolence. So, what does benevolence mean? The quality of being well-meaning, kindness. Types of calls that your church or organization might get or may get now. This is outside benevolence. I need gas money. I need money for utilities. I need money for food for my kids. I need a bus ticket too, usually to see a sick relative. I need a motel room for so many nights. Ask questions, please. If someone calls you, or I have people, not often now because the numbers went down when we started vetting them a little bit. Where are you headed? How about who's sick? You know, how are you going to get back once you get there? I mean, how are you going to get back? So we had this guy come in and says, hey, I need some gas money. I said, okay, how much do you need? $13.25. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, $13.25. I said, why so specific? Well, that's what my wife told me to get. I said, good man, listen to your wife. No. So I said, where's your gas can? He goes, in the car. I said, where's your car? Like 2 miles. You walked all the way here for $13.25 worth of gas without a gas can. It's in your car. Listen, they're going to stumble. You ask so many questions that they're going to tell you the real truth at some point. Ask as many questions as you can. Then you'll get that story. I see that with the police department all the time. So we do, as a chaplain, we actually do benevolence work with them. So we get a person that was, well, here we go. So I had a call a little while ago, a couple shifts ago, that the lady got dropped off, her husband dropped her off at a way station. They were in an argument, dropped her off there, and then drove off and left her. Took all of her money, all of her clothes. She goes, told the officer, hey, I need a motel room for the night. Or no, I need a bus ticket. That's what it was, bus ticket. And so we found, he called me and said, listen, this lady has told me the story, she needs a bus ticket. And I said, well, where to? Back to Mexico. I said, no. I said, wait a minute, before I say no finally, what do you think about the whole thing? Because I wouldn't help her. Because I trust him, because he's asked way more questions than I have. I said, then good, we're good. But that's the kind of calls you get. You ask questions. If you feel unsettled or odd about any of the answers, you can say no. They won't like it, but you can say no. You can say no, but have other resources for them. So you can actually send them, hey, what I do is I say, go down and see Watered Gardens. Go see Ruth. Ruth, ask for Ruth. We're not going to be able to help you today, but I can give you this place to give it a try. Yep. Economic security, whatever it is. I've got the list of phone numbers and stuff for them. Have an active resource list and those phone numbers. Of course, if your church has a food pantry and they need food, that's kind of a no-brainer. However, ask questions. There are resources out there for the church, organizations that can help keep track of those resources. True Charity and their Charity Tracker. It's an online software that you can actually type in their name and see where they've been, what they've got, all that. Great resource. Great
So
resource.
we don't own that, we just like it.
No.
Just putting it out there,
Yeah.
it's not one of these things.
They have it.
Butters Gardens uses it.
Church benevolence, inside church benevolence. What does church benevolence look like on the inside of your church now? What's it look like, Pastor?
Very, very small group, and we don't have to do a lot internally at this time.
Okay, good, good. COVID has been a game changer for us because people lost work, all this, so we've had to answer some calls for that. Most of the time, our deacons handle the internal.
That's our plan.
Yeah.
If and when it becomes an issue.
Okay. How about you guys? Who handles? Anybody else? Handles internal benevolence? If someone comes in and says, "Listen, I need to borrow," or "I need," a lady came in and needed $725 because she got behind because of COVID. So we give several ways to do this. First, when do you intervene? Is that something that you can intervene right away? The air conditioner story. I've got stories out there. We were at a park one time in Joplin, and we were getting ready to do a baptismal service at a local swimming pool. And this lady that used to go to our church, we found her with her grandkids out in the park, and it was hot. I said, "What are you doing out here?" And she goes, "Well, our air conditioner broke, and we're going to wait until it gets to the cooler part of the day." And, okay. So one of our other pastors and I was like, "Man, we need to fix her air conditioner." So we got a hold of our guy that does our air conditioners at the church. He went over and looked at it and said it was going to cost $700 and some dollars. I said, "Fix it. Fix it." She's got little kids. She keeps her grandkids because their mother was incarcerated. We were in the middle of a worship service on Wednesday night, and our guy, our financial guy at that point, came in with his little piece of paper, and as he came in, I was in the sound booth with the other pastor that approved it. He comes in yelling at us, "What are you doing? $725 for this lady's, she doesn't deserve it." I said, "Hold it. Wait a minute. Stop." "Well, she got a pair of jeans over at Forest Park yesterday. A pair of jeans. $725 for air conditioning, and she's carrying." Listen, he and I, ooh, righteous indignance. He had that. She doesn't deserve it. Who are you to say? I said, "We approved it. You have no say-so in it. I'm sorry. It's already done." Don't use those tools as judgment. That's what Charity Tracker, when we first got it, was used as a judgment tool. That's not going to happen anymore. I already told you the Walmart story. You help people because you love them. You want to love them. They need love. They've never had a constant. They don't know how. Pastors and people, congregation, need to understand. We think people are just going to come to our church magically. They don't know how. They're lost. We've got to love. We've got to help because we love them. What we're currently doing, our deacons handle all of our internal benevolence. They usually bring the issue to me and I give them some guidance, some stuff. Are we good on time? Okay, good. We can do internal zero interest loans for church members who are in need. Lady needed $725 because she was off work for COVID. I have a form that is a loan application. She filled out all of her pertinent information. I gave her 3 stipulations. She needed to enroll in one of our budgeting classes. She needed to have this paid off by a certain amount of time, and she needed to sign here. We cut her a check for $725. She's made all of her payments so far. She is on time. Here's the thing, we give them months to pay this off, not weeks, months. And she can make any amount of payment anytime. So if she makes 5 payments in a week, great. I keep the balance. When she's paid off, we celebrate that payoff. She's empowered. She didn't go to the 593% interest. We got our money back. We're fine. And she's still a member of my church. Now, I could have said yes.
Didn't you tell me too that one of the requirements was if they don't pay it back on time, that they won't be able to be helped financially?
That is
And
correct.
I think that's really valuable because she had that incentive to pay it
Yes.
back on time.
It does say that on the bottom. If you do not fulfill any one of these, if you don't fulfill it in any of the capacity, you will not be helped again by the church.
And do you do loans just for church members?
Yes. Yeah, somebody asked me if we do for outside. I'm not a banker. I really got so many plates in the air right now, it's just ridiculous. So, yes, church members only. Now, have we had one default and leave the church? Absolutely. But that's why I didn't do a good enough job vetting them. So yes, they sign the paper, and honestly, it's not a legal document. I'm just taking it at their word. They signed it here. So yes, she has paid it off, or paying on it. I've had several pay it off, and we celebrated their payment. I mean, it's pretty simple. If they fail to do any of this, they're not going to be helped again, and they know that up front. Oh, look at this. Imagine that. So it's worth saying again, I think. Give once and you elicit appreciation. She was appreciative of that. You give twice, you create anticipation. Give 3 times, you create expectation. Give 4 times, it becomes entitlement. And 5 times, you've created dependency. We want to stay away from that dependency. We want empowered people, feeling good, moving forward. Then we can infuse the Jesus factor to them. That's amazing. It's incredible. It has changed the way we look at ministry at Journey Church, for sure. I believe the people we serve are not to be viewed as people we serve or as mission projects. They are real, live children of God with real, live, worldly problems. They are to be viewed as collaborators and partners in their solution. They are expected to be part of that. They are supposed to lead the charge in their own recovery. None of this, none, is remotely possible without the one word we've said 1,000 times today, and that's relationship. None of this is possible without this word right here. It won't get that far. They'd rather walk. They'll go to another church that doesn't know how to do this and just collect it all right then. Of course, there's truecharity.us you can go to, local community development corporations, and then local nonprofits. Investigate what they do. I want you to go out. It's going to take a little bit of time, but go out and talk about what they do. I didn't know anything about Water Gardens until Ruth came over many years ago. And believe me, Water Gardens is much more than a homeless shelter. They have case managers. It's unbelievable. Great resources. Any questions for me? Whew. Any questions? We can talk during the panel. Yes?
I know something we kind of had to work with this, I think, in our own community.
Uh-huh.
It's just, they go to one church and you tell them no.
Uh-huh.
They go to the next church.
Sure.
And so on and so on.
That's why it's so important that everybody get on the same page.
I know with working at COM, that's what they well, had to do that, haven't you?
Yeah.
You still do that,
Charity
I'm assuming?
Using
You have
Charity Tracker.
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Charity Tracker, it helps with that, so you can get on there and see where they've been.
Yeah.
So, and it's not, a lot of people dismiss Charity Tracker and they think, oh, that's just a tool so you say no to people.
Right.
And that's not the idea. The idea is if someone last week asked for $50 at this place for gas, and now they're at this place asking for $50, then you can kind of slow down that charity train and say, let's take a look at what's really going on here. I'm not doubting you that you need this, but maybe there's something underneath that that's foundational to why
Yes.
you keep needing this. And maybe they do need to know how to budget, or maybe they need a better job, or whatever. But if you aren't asking, if you don't know that,
Yes.
then you don't know to ask those questions.
Yes. It's all about getting, there's a root to that problem. There's a root to it. And sometimes we gotta dig and dig and dig, but without relationship, you can't dig that. You gotta build that relationship first. And I know we keep harping about relationship, but that's just the bottom line. And then once that happens, you've earned the right to say, listen, what's going on in your life? I see you're asking for $50. We had a lady in my church asking the congregants $20 at a time. So I stopped them. I stopped her and I said, what's going on? Well, she was using it. We stopped it. She's still coming to church. She's in a program, but she's coming to church. Yep, where she needs to be. Yes.
I have a question back on your 2 and 5.
Yeah.
You guys had a little bit of a hook with the tornado to be able to go and kind of well-being check type of thing.
Uh-huh.
I've done a little bit of door-to-door outreach.
Uh-huh.
In my experience, about 80% of the doors don't open.
Of course.
Was that your experience? So you just kind of account on the fact that only 1 or 2 out of 10 is even going to be willing to have a conversation.
Right. However, we didn't go back just one time.
Okay. Right. So you just kept on going back to the same.
I had an active list of addresses
Uh-huh.
that we went to, check them off. This one was red, probably ought to go back again. Usually it was either elderly or they had moved out and they were waiting for another tenant to get, whatever. It was just empty at that point.
Yeah, we just finished having, you used the word block party, we just had a block party 2 weeks ago.
How'd it go?
It's kind of like this conference. I was like Micah, I had high expectations, but it was a start. And we
Hey,
had people
it
come.
is. And the people that need to know the information are in this room right now.
And we're having another one in January.
Love
We're gonna have another one in May. We're gonna have another one in the summer.
You're going to have a block party in
Well,
January?
inside, not yeah, we're gonna build igloos. And we're partnering with the health department.
You guys are tough involved.
We go door to door and talk to people.
I love it.
Door knockers. And when we go back in January, hey, weren't you guys that were here in October?
Yeah.
Yes, we were.
See?
The people
See?
were receptive.
Very receptive.
Good.
When we told them what we were doing, they were like, oh, that's a good
And it
idea.
wasn't the Methodist Church having a block party. It was a neighborhood block party in the Methodist Church parking lot.
Love it. Love it.
Building relationships first, then introducing Jesus.
That's the key. I'm telling you, that's the key. I can come up and say, hey, I'm John Boyd, I'm the pastor of Journey Church, and they're going to go
Yeah.
close the
glaze
door.
over, they're done.
Listen, I'm a dirty sinner like you.
Yes.
I'm a recovering alcoholic 21 years. I know what they're going through. I know.
So when you did the door outreach, did you introduce yourself as Journey Church or in
Yep.
some other ways?
I didn't introduce myself as pastor.
Oh, okay.
I introduced myself, hey, we're from the church down the street, is what we said.
And that's
We're
what we
the-
said. We had
Yeah.
we had door knockers that said neighborhood block party,
Yeah.
and then little letters Methodist Church.
Right. Here's the crazy thing on our sign out in front of our church. We don't have a Southern Baptist emblem or logo anywhere because people will not come into that church. If we are a non-denom, let's say, they're more willing to come in. But here the thing is, we're still preaching Jesus. They just so.
One guy was question for you, just because I know you've changed the way you're doing things over there with the pantry and trying to make people more accountable. How has that been working?
That's a good question for the panel discussion.
Did you pay her to ask?
That's a perfect segue, Laura. So thank you, Chip. Give him a round of applause. Yeah, so we'll take about a 10-minute break, and so questions like that could be posed to any one of us or to all of us. You can write them down, or we'll also have a microphone too. So if you have questions written down and you'd like someone else to read it, you can stick them on the table up here. And so, like I said, about 10-minute break, get some more refreshments or whatever, use the bathroom, and then we'll have a short panel discussion to close out today.
Thank you.